Welcome back to Crafted Nest, the place where simple ideas bloom into inspiring creations. Today, we'll take you on a journey to transform everyday plastic bottles into beautiful and practical designs for your garden. What once was waste can now become art, function, and life itself. So sit back, relax, and let's discover together how creativity can turn the ordinary into something extraordinary. If you enjoy our content and want to keep growing with us, don't forget to subscribe to Crafted Nest so you'll never miss the next spark of inspiration. There is something magical about looking at a plain wall and imagining it blooming with life. A vertical garden made from plastic bottles carries that exact charm. It begins with a simple act, collecting empty bottles that once had no purpose beyond holding a drink. Now, they are reborn as tiny vessels of life. Picture this. A quiet morning, sunlight brushing gently against the wall of your backyard. Rows of bottles cut neatly in half, filled with rich dark soil, cradle the tender roots of lettuce, mint, or perhaps bright marigolds. Each layer adds color, fragrance, and vitality. The air feels lighter, the space more alive. Creating such a garden doesn't demand grand skills or expensive tools. With a few ropes, scissors, and some imagination, you can transform even the smallest balcony into a vertical oasis. The bottles, once destined for the trash, become companions in your journey toward a greener, more mindful life. And here lies the true beauty. It's not just about growing plants, but about reshaping your perspective. Every time you water those bottles, you are reminded of resilience and renewal. You see how something ordinary can become extraordinary when given care and vision. For beginners, herbs like basil, mint, or parsley are perfect to start with. They grow quickly, offering both fragrance and flavor to your everyday cooking. Watching them sprout in your handmade planters brings a sense of fulfillment, a gentle pride that warms the heart. In this rhythm of life, cutting, planting, watering, you'll find a deep connection to nature. The vertical garden whispers softly. Beauty does not require grandeur. It thrives in creativity, patience, and love. There's a special kind of joy in seeing a once empty space above you come alive with hanging baskets. Imagine walking into your porch or garden and looking up to find colorful bottles turned into playful planters, gently swaying in the morning breeze. They don't just hold plants, they hold a story of transformation. Creating hanging bottle baskets is a beautiful act of giving the old a new purpose. With a simple cut, some paint if you wish, and sturdy ropes, those ordinary bottles turn into nests for orchids, mint, or even tiny strawberries. As you water them, the droplets sparkle in the sunlight, and the plants respond with quiet growth, reminding you how little touches can create great wonders. These baskets are perfect for small spaces. If you live in an apartment, a balcony can suddenly feel like a little garden suspended in the air. If you have a tree in your yard, imagine bottles dangling gracefully from its branches, adding color and fragrance to the shade. There's also a rhythm to caring for hanging plants. You watch how the roots adapt, how the leaves stretch toward the sun, how flowers open slowly at dawn. It's more than gardening, it's a meditation. You'll notice the air feels fresher, the space warmer, the atmosphere calmer. And perhaps this is the essence of DIY. Not perfection, but intention. It's about creating with your own hands, enjoying the process, and finding beauty in the simplest of things. Each basket becomes a gentle reminder that creativity can bloom anywhere, even from a bottle once tossed aside. In the quiet rhythm of a garden, water is life. Yet sometimes, in the busyness of days, we forget to care for each plant as it deserves. This is where the beauty of a self-watering drip system comes in. Simple, practical, and born from the humblest of materials, a plastic bottle. Picture an upside-down bottle, a few gentle holes in its cap, slowly releasing water drop by drop. The soil beneath remains moist, the roots nourished, the leaves vibrant. It is as if the garden breathes a sigh of relief, knowing it will not thirst. With every drip, you hear a whisper of patience and care, a steady heartbeat for your plants. Creating this system takes only minutes. A bottle, a pin to make tiny holes, and a patch of soil ready to welcome the gift of water. For a balcony herb garden, this can be as simple as tying a bottle beside a pot of basil or rosemary. For a backyard vegetable patch, bottles can be lined up along rows of chilies, cucumbers, or tomatoes. What's remarkable is not just the ease, but the freedom it gives. You can step away for a few days, knowing your garden still drinks. It is a partnership between you and nature, a dance of consistency and trust. And beyond convenience, it teaches us something deeper. Growth does not always need grand gestures. Sometimes, it's the steady, quiet flow that sustains life. As you watch your plants thrive, you'll feel a gentle pride, knowing it was crafted with your hands, born from creativity, and carried out with love. Every great garden begins with something small, a seed, fragile yet full of promise. To nurture that promise, you don't always need a greenhouse made of glass or metal. Sometimes, the simplest shelter comes from something as ordinary as a plastic bottle. Imagine placing tiny seeds into soft, dark soil inside a cup bottle. Days later, gentle green shoots emerge, reaching for the light. Cover them with the top half of the bottle, and suddenly you have a miniature greenhouse. The warmth of the sun passes through the clear plastic, while the curved walls protect the seedlings from harsh winds and pests. Inside, droplets of condensation gather, a sign of the perfect little climate you've created with your own hands. For those living in small spaces, a sunny windowsill becomes a nursery of life. Transparent bottles placed over herb pots transform into guardians, keeping the seedlings safe until they are strong enough to face the open air. And for those with backyards, placing half bottles into the ground around seedlings provides both structure and comfort, like a parent's embrace in the earliest days. The beauty of this DIY is not just in its function, but in the sense of wonder it brings. Watching a seed sprout under a simple plastic dome is like witnessing a quiet miracle. You realize that care doesn't always require sophistication. Often, it thrives in simplicity. So the next time you hold a discarded bottle, think of it as a cradle for new life. With patience and a little love, it becomes more than waste. It becomes a shelter, a protector, a partner in the birth of your garden's future. Sometimes, space is the greatest challenge in gardening. But when the ground is scarce, the air above us becomes the canvas. Hydroponic bottle towers are a beautiful answer to this challenge. Vertical gardens that rise with life, created from what once was waste. Picture a stack of plastic bottles, each one carefully cut and arranged, forming a column of green. Water trickles gently through the layers, carrying nutrients that feed lettuce, spinach, or fragrant basil. The plants do not rest in soil, but float in a harmony of water and care. In the sunlight, the leaves shine, tender yet strong, reaching higher with each passing day. This system is more than just efficient. It's a lesson in creativity and sustainability. On a small balcony in the city, where concrete surrounds every corner, a hydroponic tower brings back the feeling of a living garden. It shows that with imagination, even the narrowest space can bloom. The joy multiplies when this project becomes a family effort. Children watch with wide eyes as roots dangle freely in the water, learning that life can grow in unexpected ways. Parents find pride in creating fresh food right at their doorstep, without chemicals or complicated systems. And beyond the harvest, there is a deeper satisfaction. Each bottle tower whispers a reminder that innovation doesn't need grand inventions. It begins with hands willing to try and a heart willing to nurture. Step by step, drip by drip, a bottle tower grows not just plants, but also hope, creativity, and a greener tomorrow. When the sun sets and the garden quiets, a different kind of magic can awaken. Light, soft and gentle, has the power to transform an ordinary evening into a storybook moment. And with simple plastic bottles, this magic can be created by your very own hands. Imagine a bottle once discarded, now cut into delicate shapes of stars, flowers, or leaves. A coat of paint, a touch of imagination, and suddenly it becomes a lantern. Place a candle or a small LED light inside, and the bottle glows as if carrying a secret flame. The light dances through the patterns, casting playful shadows across the garden path or the walls of your porch. These lanterns are more than just decoration. They are an invitation to pause, to sit in the evening breeze, to share a quiet meal outdoors, to watch how light changes the mood of a space. They make a backyard dinner feel festive, a garden walkway feel enchanted, and a small balcony feel warm and alive. Creating them is wonderfully simple. Scissors, paint, and patience are all that's needed. Children can join in too, painting bottles with joyful colors, turning recycling into art. The process itself becomes a memory, a family moment woven into the glow of the lanterns you light at night. And perhaps the greatest gift is not in how beautiful they look, but in what they remind us, that light exists even in what we once thought useless. With care and creativity, a humble plastic bottle becomes a vessel of warmth, a guide in the dark, and a little piece of magic in the garden of everyday life. There's a certain joy in welcoming nature into your garden, in hearing the flutter of wings and the cheerful calls of little birds. A bird feeder made from a simple plastic bottle is one of the most heartwarming DIY projects you can create, for it doesn't just recycle, it builds a bridge between you and the wild. Picture a bottle hanging gently from a tree branch, filled with seeds. Small holes cut along the sides allow the grains to spill out just enough, while tiny sticks serve as perches for feathered visitors. In the quiet of morning, when the sun paints the sky in gold, sparrows arrive. They peck, they chatter, and they bring life to your garden in ways no decoration could. This project is wonderfully simple. With a pair of scissors, some rope, and bird seed, you turn waste into welcome. It invites not just birds, but a new rhythm into your home. You'll find yourself pausing at the window, smiling as you watch finches or parakeets enjoying their feast. Children, too, will marvel at the sight, learning that kindness can extend beyond people to creatures that brighten our world with song. More than a feeder, it becomes a gesture of hospitality. It tells the birds, you belong here, you're safe. And in return, they fill the air with melody, with movement, with joy. Perhaps this is the secret of the garden. It's not only about what we plant or build, but about the life we invite in. A bottle once forgotten becomes a gift of nourishment, a token of connection, and a reminder that generosity always finds its way back in song. In every garden, walls are more than boundaries. They are frames for beauty, protectors of life, and silent storytellers. And when those walls are built from eco-bricks, each one becomes a symbol of care, not just for your plants, but for the earth itself. An eco-brick begins with a simple act, filling an empty plastic bottle with non-biodegradable waste, wrappers, packaging, bits of plastic that would otherwise harm the soil and oceans. Packed tightly, the bottle becomes solid, strong, and ready to take on a second life. Lined up together, they form walls, benches, or borders that carry both strength and meaning. Picture a garden where the edges are not made of stone, but of bottles shining with colors of repurposed waste. Sunlight hits the bottles, making them gleam like pieces of stained glass. The pathway they frame feels alive, playful, and deeply rooted in sustainability. It tells every visitor, here is a place where nothing is wasted, where even trash is given a chance to serve. Beyond beauty, eco-bricks carry a lesson. They show that waste can be transformed when hands and hearts are willing. Families, neighbors, and communities often gather to make them, turning a chore into an act of togetherness. Children press wrappers into bottles, learning that the future is shaped by the choices we make today. As you sit on a bench made from eco-bricks, or walk beside a wall built from them, you feel connected to something larger than yourself. It's not just a garden feature, it's a quiet pledge of respect for the earth, proof that creativity and care can turn problems into possibilities. Every garden, no matter how simple, deserves a frame, something that defines its shape and gives it character. Bottle-edge garden borders are just that, practical, creative, and surprisingly beautiful. With each plastic bottle pressed into the soil, a plain garden bed transforms into something tidy, unique, and full of personality. Imagine a row of marigolds or daisies, their bright petals dancing in the breeze, framed by bottles turned upside down. The bottoms of the bottles, often patterned with star-like ridges, catch the sunlight and sparkle like little jewels around the soil. It's such a small touch, yet it gives the garden a sense of care, a feeling that every detail matters. Some people go further, filling bottles with colored water or painted sand before placing them in the ground. Suddenly, the border becomes more than just functional. It becomes an artwork. A winding path edged with these bottles looks playful and inviting, like a mosaic guiding your steps. The beauty of this DIY lies in its simplicity. It doesn't ask for expensive tools or professional skill. Just gather bottles, dig a shallow trench, and press them into the earth. Children can help too, placing bottles one by one, laughing as the border slowly takes shape. And perhaps the greatest gift of these borders is the sense of pride they bring. Each time you walk through the garden, you're reminded that creativity doesn't always demand grand designs. Sometimes, it blooms from the humblest of things, an old bottle, a patch of soil, and the willingness to see beauty in the ordinary. Sometimes, the most useful tools are also the simplest. A watering can doesn't need to be bought from a store. It can be created in minutes with nothing more than a plastic bottle and a few tiny holes. What was once a container for water or soda suddenly becomes a gentle shower for your plants. Picture yourself in the early morning, the air cool and fresh. You take a bottle, squeeze lightly, and a spray of tiny droplets rains down on your herbs or flowers. The soil darkens as it drinks, leaves sparkle as they catch the moisture, and the garden awakens under your touch. It feels natural, effortless, and deeply satisfying. For children, this simple tool is pure joy. They love the ease of squeezing, watching water sprinkle like a small fountain. It turns watering into play, a little ritual that connects them to nature in a way no store-bought tool could. The beauty of this DIY lies in its accessibility. Anyone, anywhere can do it. Whether you live in a village with a large yard or in a city apartment with just a balcony, a bottle-turned watering can brings the same sense of care. It reminds us that gardening is not about perfection, but about intention, about giving what we have with love. And as you stand there, bottle in hand, watching life thrive under those little drops, you realize something profound. Care doesn't need to be expensive or complicated. Sometimes, the simplest gestures hold the most beauty. There is something magical about water in motion. The way droplets scatter like diamonds in the sunlight, the way plants stretch their leaves to drink. A sprinkler, even a homemade one, turns watering into both a necessity and a joy. And all it takes is a simple plastic bottle, given a second life. Imagine attaching a bottle to the end of a hose, poking small holes along its sides. As the water flows, streams burst outward, showering the garden in playful arcs. On a hot afternoon, the grass glistens with life, and the soil breathes with relief. The plants sway as though dancing, refreshed by the gentle rain you've created. For children, it becomes more than a tool. It's a fountain of happiness. They run barefoot across the lawn, laughing as the water sprays over them. A simple act of watering transforms into an afternoon of play, memories etched in droplets. And for gardeners, this DIY sprinkler offers freedom. Instead of standing with a hose, you let the bottle do the work. Rows of vegetables are evenly soaked, saving both time and energy. It's proof that solutions don't have to be costly. Sometimes they come from what we already have in hand. But perhaps the deeper beauty lies in the symbolism. A bottle once empty and forgotten becomes a source of life, spreading nourishment and joy. It reminds us that creativity can change not only our gardens, but our perspective, that abundance often hides within the ordinary, waiting for us to see its potential. Herbs carry more than flavor. They carry comfort, memory, and a touch of life to every meal. Imagine stepping outside your window or porch and plucking fresh basil, mint, or lemongrass, all grown in planters you crafted with your own hands from simple plastic bottles. It begins with a few bottles, cut and prepared with holes for drainage. With soil and seedlings tucked inside, they hang gracefully from ropes or wires, transforming empty spaces into fragrant gardens in the air. Each time the breeze passes, the bottles sway gently, carrying with them the refreshing scent of green. For those living in cities, these hanging planters turn balconies and rooftops into small sanctuaries. Even in crowded neighborhoods, a curtain of herbs brings privacy, beauty, and fresh ingredients within arm's reach. In villages, bottles strung along bamboo poles add both charm and utility, turning a porch into a kitchen garden full of life. The joy is not only in growing, but in harvesting. To cut fresh mint for tea or parsley for soup, knowing it came from your own handmade planters fills the heart with pride. It's a reminder that abundance doesn't need land. It only needs care and creativity. And as the plants grow, so too does your connection to them. Each watering becomes a quiet moment of mindfulness. Each leaf harvested carries the taste of patience and the fragrance of effort. Hanging bottle planters are more than decoration. They are a living story of renewal, showing us that even the smallest corners can bloom with life when we choose to nurture them. There is a certain poetry in rain, the way it falls gently, nourishing the earth, filling rivers, and refreshing the air. To capture this gift is to honor nature's generosity. And sometimes, all it takes is a few plastic bottles to turn rainfall into a lasting resource. Imagine a row of bottles placed beneath the edge of a roof, each one waiting with quiet patience. As clouds gather and droplets begin to fall, the bottles slowly fill. The sound of rain hitting plastic becomes a melody, a rhythm of renewal. Soon, what was once waste is now a vessel of life, holding water that will later quench your garden's thirst. This simple DIY rainwater collector is more than just a clever project. It's a gesture of respect. Every drop saved is a step toward sustainability. In rural yards, bottles connect with pipes or bamboo to channel rain into larger barrels, creating a reserve for drier days. In city balconies, a single bottle under a gutter can collect enough for herbs or flowers. There is joy in watching the bottles fill, in seeing the transparency of water against plastic walls. Children find wonder in it, learning that rain is not just weather, but a resource we can cherish and reuse. Adults find comfort in knowing that care for the earth can be this simple, this accessible. And when you pour that collected rainwater onto your plants, you feel a deeper connection between sky, earth, and human hands. A cycle completed, a gift returned. With every drop, your garden grows, and your heart whispers gratitude for the simple beauty of nature's endless generosity. Every garden tells its story not just through plants, but through the visitors it welcomes. Butterflies, bees, and gentle insects bring color, movement, and life. To invite them is to enrich the garden's soul. And one of the simplest ways to do this is with a feeder made from a humble plastic bottle. Picture an inverted bottle, a few small holes at its tip, dripping a sweet solution of sugar and water. Around it, wings of orange, blue, and gold flutter in the sunlight. A butterfly rests delicately, sipping nectar as though it has found a secret treasure. Bees hover nearby, buzzing softly, contributing to the quiet symphony of life. These feeders are easy to make. Cut a bottle, fill it with nectar, and hang it among your flowers. Nature will do the rest. Soon, your garden becomes more than just a place of plants. It becomes a sanctuary of pollinators. They come, they feed, and in return, they help your garden flourish, carrying pollen from bloom to bloom. For children, watching butterflies land so close is magical. For adults, it is calming, a reminder of the harmony that exists when we choose to care. And for the earth, it is a gift, for every feeder supports the tiny workers that sustain life far beyond the garden gate. With each sip taken from your DIY feeder, you witness connection between human creativity, natural cycles, and the beauty of creatures often overlooked. A plastic bottle, once forgotten, becomes a doorway for life's dance to continue, soft, colorful, and endlessly inspiring. A fence is more than a boundary. It defines space, offers privacy, and frames the beauty within. When made from recycled bottles, a fence becomes more than functional. It becomes a story of resourcefulness and color, a shining reminder of what creativity can achieve. Imagine bottles, once forgotten, carefully strung together or stacked within wooden frames. The sunlight passes through them, casting glimmers of light like stained glass on the garden floor. Some bottles remain clear, others painted in bright hues, creating a wall that feels both protective and artistic. Standing tall, it shields the garden while still allowing the warmth of light to pass through. In rural homes, these fences are practical. They use what is available, creating strong structures without waste. In city gardens, they become a conversation piece. Neighbors stop to admire the way simple bottles have transformed into something striking. And in community projects, bottle fences bring people together, each person contributing a few bottles to build something larger than themselves. The joy lies not only in the finished fence, but in the process. Collecting bottles, cleaning, stringing, and finally watching the wall rise gives a sense of accomplishment. Children delight in seeing colors line up. Adults find pride in building with their hands, and the garden gains a character all its own. Perhaps the greatest beauty of a bottle wall fence is its message. It whispers to every passerby, beauty does not demand newness. Strength does not require costly materials. With care and creativity, even what was once waste can become a protector, a frame, and a shining face of a garden filled with life. When night falls, a garden does not have to sleep in darkness. With a little imagination, it can bloom in light, glowing with warmth and charm. Recycled bottle fairy lights bring this enchantment alive. Simple bottles reborn as tiny beacons that turn any space into a dreamscape. Imagine cutting the bottoms of bottles into petal shapes, painting them with soft colors, then slipping fairy lights inside. As the sun sets, the first glow appears, gentle and golden. Soon, a string of bottles glimmers like a necklace across the garden, casting playful reflections on leaves and pathways. It feels magical, yet remains beautifully simple. On a village porch, these lights become a welcome for guests, their glow inviting conversation and laughter. In a city rooftop, they transform concrete into a cozy haven where dinners feel more intimate and nights seem softer. Even a small balcony can shine with warmth, its bottles glowing like lanterns against the cool night air. The act of making them is as joyful as the light they give. Families can paint bottles together, string them up, and celebrate the first evening they shine. Each glow tells a story of creativity, of care for the earth, of beauty born from what was once discarded. And perhaps, as you sit beneath these fairy lights, listening to the quiet hum of the night, you realize something simple yet profound. Light is not just about seeing. It's about feeling, about warmth, comfort, and wonder. A recycled bottle, lit from within, becomes not just a decoration, but a vessel of joy, reminding us that even the smallest things can brighten the darkest hours. Every gardener knows the quiet frustration of searching for tools, the trowel lost under leaves, the scissors misplaced in the soil. Yet, with something as simple as a plastic bottle, order can return and chaos can turn into calm. A tool holder made from bottles is not just practical, it's a gentle touch of creativity woven into daily life. Picture a wooden shed wall, lined with bottles cut neatly in half. Each one cradles a tool, gloves resting, scissors waiting, packets of seeds tucked inside. The garden feels different when everything has its place. The air is lighter, the rhythm smoother, the work more joyful. In small gardens, these bottle holders are a gift. Tied to bamboo poles or attached to a porch wall, they turn unused corners into stations of purpose. The transparency of bottles lets you see exactly what you need, sparing you the endless search. And when the sun hits them, they gleam like little helpers ready to serve. The act of making them carries its own satisfaction. Cutting, arranging, and filling each bottle is not just about storage, it's about care. It's the kind of care that extends beyond plants. Care for time, for order, for the quiet joy of knowing everything is in its place. And perhaps, in those simple moments, slipping gloves into a bottle, reaching for a trowel without hesitation, you realize that gardening is not only about the plants. It's about the harmony we create around them. A bottle once empty now holds tools of life, proving once again that beauty and function often bloom from the simplest hands. Art is often thought of as something grand, placed in galleries or carved from stone. But in truth, art blooms wherever creativity meets the ordinary. Bottle art sculptures are proof of this: bright, imaginative creations that turn a garden or a yard into a gallery of joy. Imagine bottles cut, painted, and arranged into the shape of a flower taller than a child, its petals shining when sunlight touches the plastic. Or picture a peacock crafted with care, each feather cut from a bottle, painted in hues of blue and green, shimmering as the breeze flows. These sculptures do not just stand still. They tell stories, they invite smiles, they spark conversations. In a community garden, these artworks bring people together. Neighbors gather bottles, children paint them, and families build shapes that carry their laughter and pride. A once plain corner becomes a landmark, a place where color rises out of what once was waste. For a home garden, even a small sculpture can transform the mood. A tree made of bottles, standing among real plants, blurs the line between art and nature. At night, a lantern placed inside can make it glow, turning ordinary evenings into magical moments. The beauty of bottle sculptures is not only in how they look, but in what they represent. They remind us that creativity doesn't demand new materials, it only asks for vision. With patience, imagination, and a few humble bottles, art is born. And as you stand before your creation, you see not plastic, not waste, but the reflection of your own spirit, bright, resourceful, and alive. Water has a way of inviting peace. A pond, no matter how small, becomes a mirror of the sky and a sanctuary for the soul. And when decorated with recycled bottles, it transforms into something both playful and poetic, an art of renewal floating on the water's surface. Imagine a koi pond dotted with bright flowers made from plastic bottles, their petals glistening under the sun. Fish swim beneath, curious and lively, weaving between colors that dance on the ripples. Or picture evening arriving, and bottle lanterns gently glowing as they float, their reflections shimmering like stars fallen onto water. The pond becomes more than a garden feature. It becomes a stage of light and movement. Creating these decorations is simple, yet deeply satisfying. With a few cuts, some paint, and imagination, a plain bottle becomes a lotus, a lily, or a lantern. Arranged thoughtfully, they add character and charm to ponds and water features, making them feel alive in every season. Beyond beauty, these decorations carry meaning. They remind us that harmony is not always found in newness, but in giving new life to what was once forgotten. They show that creativity can ripple outward, touching not just the garden, but the heart of everyone who pauses to watch. Sitting by the pond, listening to the gentle trickle of water, watching bottles turned art drift with the breeze, you may feel time slow down. And in that stillness, you realize that peace often comes not from grand things, but from simple moments crafted with care. A recycled bottle, reshaped and floating, becomes both a symbol and a song of serenity. In every garden, there is a secret cycle. What is discarded can become nourishment. What seems like waste can return as life. A DIY compost bin made from plastic bottles is a simple yet profound way to honor this cycle, turning leftovers into food for the soil. Picture a bottle with small holes poked into its sides, filled layer by layer with kitchen scraps, vegetable peels, fruit skins, coffee grounds, mixed with dry leaves and a touch of soil. Over time, the magic of decomposition begins. Slowly, quietly, the scraps transform into rich, dark compost. A bottle once empty now holds the very essence of life. In a small balcony, these compost bottles offer a practical solution. Even without a yard, you can create organic fertilizer for potted herbs and flowers. In larger gardens, bottles arranged in corners act as mini composting stations, reducing waste and feeding the earth at the same time. There is joy in the process. Watching waste diminish, smelling the earthy scent of compost forming, knowing that nothing is truly lost, it all brings a sense of connection to nature's rhythm. Children learn that banana peels and vegetable scraps aren't trash. but treasures waiting to return to the soil. Adults find comfort in the simplicity of it, a reminder that sustainability is often within reach. And when the compost is ready, when you scoop it out and sprinkle it around your plants, you see their leaves grow greener, their blooms brighter. You realize the cycle is complete, from kitchen to bottle, from waste to garden, from effort to abundance. It is a gentle reminder that in nature, nothing is wasted, and in our hands, everything can bloom again. Organization brings a sense of calm, turning chaos into order and giving every object a place to rest. When it comes to the garage, shed, or even a small apartment corner, the solution for a tidy space can be as simple as a discarded plastic bottle. Vertical bottle shelves and racks are proof that practicality and sustainability can go hand in hand. Imagine a wall that was once a jumble of things, now transformed. Rows of plastic bottles, cut neatly in half, are mounted to a wooden board. Each bottle becomes a tiny cubby for something small, a place for a handful of screws, a home for stray gloves, or a perfect cradle for seed packets. The transparency of the bottles lets you see everything at a glance, making the search for tools a thing of the past. This DIY project is a quiet act of mindfulness. With each bottle you clean and prepare, you're not just creating storage, you're reshaping a habit. For a family, it can be a weekend activity where children learn about sorting and organization. For a seasoned gardener, it's a way to keep all the little necessities, from twine to plant markers, within easy reach. The joy is in the small details. The way the sunlight catches the edges of the plastic, the satisfaction of finding exactly what you need in seconds, the gentle pride that comes from creating something useful out of nothing. It reminds us that efficiency doesn't require complex systems or expensive solutions. Sometimes it only asks for a little bit of creativity and a whole lot of care. A bottle once used for a drink now holds the small gears of your daily life, a simple vessel of order and purpose.